Um, yes, okay. So for Muhammad Izan question in the chat box over here, so just to clarify, is this format is also applied to chapter 1 and 2 question? Yes. Okay, so because our midterm test is also open book kind of question, okay, so it applies to our midterm test tomorrow. All right. Okay, so any other question before we proceed to the next one? Okay, so next question. How much question? Okay, there will be 2 questions. For midterm tomorrow, there will be 2 questions. Okay, but 2 questions with the sub lah, sub. Okay, just like our chapter. Okay, in chapter, I mean in our course we have 5 chapters, isn't it? And each chapter's got subtopics, right? So same goes for our test tomorrow. Our test tomorrow will be 2 questions, but each question got sub question. Okay, so any other question? Okay, all right. So maybe I can, Mas Henriton. Yes, okay. So for next question, Mas Henriton. Yes, Mas Henriton, just like what you did for your final exam previously. Okay, for your final exam, I'm not sure. I guess some of the course you write down your answers, isn't it? Write down your answers and then you scan and then you look at. Okay, how many sub questions? That one, you will see tomorrow. Okay. So to answer the previous question, Mas Henriton, yes, Mas Henriton. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So right. So I guess that's it. So maybe we can continue with our class, huh? Okay. So next, let's take a look at Internet of Things. Okay, so as you can see, for course learning outcome number 2, so we did mention something about Internet of Things, isn't it? Okay, so I believe that some of you already applied this for your diploma project. Okay, but for this course, we just go through what is actually Internet of Things. Okay, so from the name itself, Internet of Things means that uh, interconnectivity between things through the internet. Okay, so for example, if you look at this figure, okay, so we have a figure of a smart city over here. Okay, in which in this part of the area in this city, most of the places has its own sensors. Okay, in which all these sensors will directly report its condition to the internet. Okay, so that as user we can just monitor the situation through our computer. So as long as we have the internet connection, so we can actually assess the state of the sensors located in each of these places. Okay, so this is the idea of Internet of Things, meaning that instead of we have to go to the site to look at the condition or the state of the places, so we use the sensor or the things at the place to report to us directly without us being to be physically available at the place to know the situation at that place. Okay, so this is the idea of Internet of Things. Okay, so let's take a look at the specific specific meaning or specific information about Internet of Things. Okay, so as the name implies, an Internet of Things, okay, enable data control, exchange, connection, and computation over the internet. Okay, so in this case, things is referring to physical objects that can collect inputs, okay, such as sensors, okay, and can produce outputs, okay, through its actuators. Okay, so in other words, IoT or Internet of Things comprises of these 3 elements. Okay, so the first one is physical object, second one is the controller, sensors and actuators, and the last one is the internet. So here, physical objects is the situation or the things itself. Okay, for example, in the previous figure, okay, the physical object is the, for example, if we look at the village over here, so not the village, hutan ni kan? Okay, so this hutan ni is considered as the physical object. Okay, and then we fix sensors, actuators over here to get the surrounding condition so that the the reading of the sensors can be reported to us through the internet. Okay, so the sensors, the controllers, the actuators that we fix, okay, that one is the second element of the IoT. Okay, and then the data is being sent through the internet. That is the third element of the IoT. Okay, let's move on further. Okay, so this is the idea in which all in the end, okay, in the end, all the things in the world is monitoring itself, okay, or reporting the information to us. All right, so this is the idea of Internet of Things. Okay, so let's take a look at the next one. Okay, so let's say we prototype an IoT system with PIC microcontroller. Okay, so you can see if you want to know more about the network protocols for IoT, so you can click at this link. Okay, but for this slide, okay, let's take a look at examples of, let's say we want to develop, okay, an IoT system using PIC microcontroller, for example. Okay, so what we need here is, okay, for the controller, sensor, and actuators. All right, so we need to develop a system with respect to this second element of the IoT. Okay, so in this case, we have a microcontroller, and then we have the temperature sensor, power supply connected to power up the microcontroller, and then we have LCD module to produce the output at the place. Okay, and how about the physical object? Okay, so in this case, let's imagine that this system is to be fixed in a room, for example. So the physical object over here is the room. Okay, so in which we want to read the sensor at the room. Okay, by using this temperature sensor. So what happened is, okay, so this is the second element. The first element is the room itself. Okay, so this one needs to be connected to the internet. So in this case, we are using the Wi-Fi module to be able to be connected to the internet. Okay, and then once we have this Wi-Fi enabled module, okay, so we can connect our system to the internet through the Wi-Fi router, and then we can read the state of the system, okay, in other place, all right, through our computer or maybe smartphone. Okay, so this is the idea of Internet of Things. Okay, so in this example, the network protocol that we use over here is Wi-Fi. Okay, so we can use other protocols as well. Okay, so if you look over here in this page, okay, so our network protocols is not limited to only Wi-Fi. So we can have different protocols as well, okay, which is you can use Bluetooth, okay, mesh protocols. We can use our broadband connection, okay, or RFID. Okay, so all this you can read through this. All right, so these are the protocols that can be used by not by our computer, but also to develop IoT. Okay, I mean not for our computer networking, but also for IoT purpose. All right, so these are the type of protocols that can be used. Okay, so I hope you are clear with this. Okay, so this is a thing about IoT. So I hope you can, when we go through this chapter, I hope you can relate the computer networking with IoT. All right. So the difference is just that the IoT is the connection in between devices instead of between computers. Okay, so these are the potential applications of IoT. Okay, so for personal use, okay, for home use, okay, for in public places, okay, so we can use IoT connections for agriculture, farming, smart city, healthcare, and so on and so forth. Okay, so yeah, so I guess you are familiar with this, isn't it? Okay, so these are the several possible applications of IoT. All right, so you can get to know more about IoT from this page. Okay, so but basically these references is with respect to the IoT notes that we have in our slides over here. So if you click through, then you will come across this figure again. Okay. So I'm sharing you all these links because it's easier for us to learn through this online mode, isn't it? All right. Okay, so that's about the computer communication, computer network. Okay, that is about computer network. So for now, we had covered computer communications and also computer network with some information about IoT. Okay, so this is what we had covered for now. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Okay, so the third part of the section is network architectures, topologies, and communication standards. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. Okay, so first, we need to understand what is the meaning of network architecture. Okay, so network architecture, what is the meaning of network architecture? So network architecture is the design of computers, devices, and media in a network, usually classified based on roles of computers and devices in the network. Okay, so this is another terms in computer networking. So recall back, just now we have computer network, isn't it? So now, or computer network classification. So now we have network architecture. And what is network architecture? It is the design of computers, devices, and media in a network, usually classified based on roles of the computer and devices in the network. Okay, so in other words, okay, what are the category of network architecture? So we have two categories of network architecture. Okay, so the first one is client-server network, and the second one is peer-to-peer network. So this is the classification or the category of network architecture. Okay, so let's take a look at a client-server network. Okay, so for the first one, client-server network. In client-server network, one computer becomes a server and the rest of the connected devices or computers becomes the client. Okay, so in this case, the server controls the client. Okay, and if you look at the next one, peer-to-peer network. So peer-to-peer network means all computers have the same roles in the network, okay, in which all have the same sharing capability, have the same resources, okay, and it shares and it's the same lah, okay, as the name itself, it's a peer-to-peer network. Okay, so let's take a look at this page over here. So if you look at this page, to get to know more about this network architecture, okay, so for client-server network, all right, so usually the connection, okay, between the client and the server, okay, is through one network devices. In this example is network switch, okay, and the function of the client is just to get the data or resources from the server, while the server is the provider of the data to the client.